Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 4. My, how time passes by quickly when we're having fun. There's no one here. I am recording this Zoom meeting. I'm going to probably go really quickly since there's no one here to ask me any questions. Should someone come in while I'm speaking, we'll stop and go over anything you'd like to. So, at this point, I would hope nobody is still having technical issues. I know there are a couple of personal issues going on, and for the most part, you have contacted me and we've made arrangements for your work to be turned in. I want to remind you, even though we have this week and next week, that your initial post is due on Wednesday by 11:59 p.m. and your reply post is due on Sunday by 11:59. There hasn't been any problem with value-added feedback. I have to admit, you guys have done really, really well with that. I've been really pleased when I've read your feedback to each other. The only thing I would wish is that we could get that feedback in a little earlier so that there could be a discussion going back and forth. But I do understand time. One thing I wanted to discuss was the Turnitin. When you turn in your assignment and it automatically goes through Turnitin, you really should turn it in early enough that you can see your Turnitin scores and make the necessary changes. Turnitin scores of 30, 40, that's really way too high. And when I'm looking at people's papers to see why it's so high, it's simply because you're not citing your source. I think you think because you may make a statement at the beginning of a paragraph that references your source, that you don't need to cite your source throughout that assignment. And even though all the questions are about one author and their opinion, you still, every time you use that author's words, should be citing that throughout your paper. Really, you should not have a Turnitin score higher than about 15. 20 maximum, and even that gives me a little pause. But when your Turnitin score is in the 30s and 40s, I am very, very concerned. So please turn your work in early enough that you can check your Turnitin score. I've been kind of lenient in the past, but I probably won't be quite as lenient going forward. You need to really check those scores because 40, 30 is just way too high. Your final assignment, not your final assignment, but your next assignment is including chapters 1 through 33, questions 23 through 29. And I also want to make a point about the responses because I had a couple of responses that were like 40 words, 30 words, and it clearly says approximately 125 words. So if you're giving me 30, 40, 50 words, I am going to take points off of that. Now, if you're giving me 120, 119, I'm okay. But your answers should be detailed enough where it should take you approximately 125 words to answer. You have a quiz due this week. It is worth 3 points. So I would suggest that you do it, especially if your grade is not where you want it to be. It can only help. Most of you should know about smart thinking because I have mentioned that a couple of times. I also put the link in the agenda because someone earlier had tried to use the get to smart thinking and they were having difficulty. So I did put the link on the agenda. And if you have trouble and you want to use it and you're having trouble, please don't hesitate to contact Nicole. She is our student services advisor and that's what she's here for. You can contact both of us. And we can both be on it to make sure that you can get your paper in to turn it in soon enough where they can make the corrections you need or the suggestions that you need in time enough for you to act on them and still turn your paper in on time. Remember that if you do use Turnitin, you have to give it to them a few days ahead of time. You can't turn it in to them the day before it's due and think you're going to get it back. So I would suggest 2 to 3 days ahead of time, and then you have enough time to make corrections before you turn it in. And that's not only for this class, that's for any class that you may take. Again, please pay attention to the announcements. That's really important. That's where I'll post any information that I think that you will need. And other than that, everything is going pretty well as far as I can tell. Most of you are turning in your assignments on time. Do understand though, if you turn them in late, I will have to, and we have not had a discussion of some sort about you turning in an assignment late for whatever the reason may be. I am going to take points off of it. I also take off points for grammar. There are just some things that a graduate level paper just should not have. So I do take off for grammar. I do take off if you don't have the 125 or close to words on your assignments. I do pay close attention to what the requirements are, and I try to grade you as closely as possible to those requirements. So with that, by this being week 4, and we're almost done, you only have 1 more week. I really don't have a lot more to share with you. And you know, and I will reiterate that if you have questions, you can always inbox me. And I will respond to you in less than 24 hours. When it's close to assignment time and I get an inbox from you, I'm going to try to respond to you right away. So don't hesitate, you know, if you have questions of any sort. And with that, I'm going to say, have a good finish of week 4. And I'm looking forward to week 5. And I'll see you later. Bye.